Welcome to the Minute of Terror channel. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment where you are watching this video from.
Hello, Luke. The story I'm sharing with you today is truly terrifying. I've been a truck driver for 15 years, and in that time I've seen it all. Accidents, overturned rigs, drivers asleep at the wheel, and even strange shapes you swear you see when you're too tired to think straight. But nothing prepared me for that rainy night on a dirt road somewhere deep in the countryside. It was close to midnight when the storm hit hard. Rain pounded against the windshield, and the dirt road had turned into a river of mud. The weight of the load made every move dangerous. One mistake could send me over the edge. But worse than the road itself was the exhaustion clawing at me. My eyes burned. My head kept nodding forward. I cranked the radio up, sang along, slapped the wheel, but it wasn't enough. Each curve revealed soaked trees that looked like shadows dancing in the headlights. I shook my head, blaming fatigue for the illusions. Then, as I approached a sharp curve, it happened. A whistle. Clear. Sharp. Perfectly tuned. It cut through the sound of the engine and the music, as if it had been blown right inside my cab. I nearly lost control. My grip tightened on the wheel. I looked around. Nothing but rain and brush. I told myself it was the wind, or maybe just sleep deprivation playing tricks. But then the whistle came again, longer this time, almost like a tune. My heart hammered. The road was empty. No houses, no lights, no signs of life for miles. Still, that sound seemed to call me. For a moment, I wanted to floor it and leave that curve behind. But a thought stopped me. What if it was someone out there calling for help? I knew truckers who'd found injured people on roadsides before. Maybe this was one of those moments. I downshifted, pulled the brake, and turned off the music. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. Only the rain hitting the roof of the cab remained. I took a deep breath, opened the door, and stepped out with my flashlight. The cold air slapped my face, and the smell of wet earth filled my lungs. The road was narrow, lined with trees that curved overhead like a tunnel. The beam of my flashlight barely reached a few yards ahead. I called out, "Anybody out there?" My voice sounded weak, swallowed by the night. I waited. Nothing. Only the rain, now easing into a drizzle. Then it came again. The whistle. This time it wasn't coming from the woods. It wasn't far away. It was right there, close to my ear. I spun around, light shaking in my hand. Nothing. Just mud, shadows, and silence. A chill shot up my spine. I stepped forward, boots sinking into the muck. Every crack of a branch felt like footsteps behind me. The silence was thick, pressing, as if the night itself was holding its breath. That's when I felt it. Not just fear, but presence. Someone, or something, was there, unseen, breathing with me in the dark. The whistle sounded again. Short, sharp, impatient. Almost like it was warning me. I was about to run back when I saw it. A shape moving among the trees. Small, hunched, coming toward me slowly. The beam of my flashlight trembled. This wasn't exhaustion. It was real. As it drew closer, its form became clearer. A short man, head buried deep between his shoulders. Across his back, he dragged a dark sack that scraped against the muddy ground. The stench hit me before the sight did. Rot, decay, the unmistakable smell of spoiled meat. Every step he took seemed to thicken the air, making it impossible to breathe. He stopped, staring at me. I couldn't make out his face, only the twisted outline of his body and that sack hanging like an extra limb. For a moment, it felt like he wanted to show me that what he carried was part of him. Then, without warning, he sprinted, not stumbling, not dragging himself. He ran at me with impossible speed. Panic exploded. I bolted for the truck, slipping in the mud, stumbling, the stench closing in. Behind me, the whistles multiplied, fast, sharp, like mocking laughter chasing me down. I scrambled into the cab and slammed the door. My keys slipped from my hands twice before I got them into the ignition. The engine roared, but he was already nearly on me. Sprinting, sacks swinging, whistling like blades in the night. I floored it. The wheels spun in the mud before the truck lurched forward. In the mirror, I saw him still chasing, never slowing, never losing breath. Just running. Minutes dragged like hours until the curve finally fell behind. Only then did he vanish, swallowed by the darkness, as if he'd never been there. I drove nonstop for 20 miles until I reached a gas station. I parked, legs shaking, the stench still stuck in my nose. The attendant, an old man with tired eyes, looked at me quietly. Then he asked, "You saw the Whistler of the curve, didn't you?" I swallowed hard. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Since that night, I've never taken that road again. Hello, Luke. My name is Teresa, and I have a chilling story to share with you. I was 13 years old, just a farm girl, used to the silence of dirt roads and the distant hum of cicadas. It was late afternoon, and I was walking with my cousin. Everyone called her Dolly. She was a bit older, maybe 15, and she always seemed to know more about life, as if her maturity came from hearing secrets the adults never told us. That day, the sky was heavy. Dark clouds gathered over the hills, and the sunlight was fading faster than it should. The trail that led to her house, so familiar to us, suddenly seemed narrower, as if the trees had leaned closer to watch us. The wind stirred the dust, and there was an urgency in our steps, as if our bodies already knew we shouldn't be there after dark. Then the air changed. First, the wind blew harder, carrying a dampness that smelled like rain. But then came the stench. Not wet earth, not cut grass, something far worse. The smell of rotten flesh. It filled my lungs and turned my stomach. I covered my nose, but it didn't help. Dolly's face twisted in disgust, her eyes scanning the woods. And then we heard it. Whistles. Short, sharp, clear in the silence of the path. Not a bird, not the wind. A sound made to call. A sound asking for our attention. My heart started racing. Fear came in waves, growing stronger with each step. Dolly tried to walk faster, pretending to ignore it, but I knew she was terrified too. The whistles persisted. The smell of decay lingered, and the trail we had walked 100 times now felt endless. And worst of all was the feeling we weren't just being watched. We were being waited for. After what felt like forever, we reached the crossroads. It was the point where the trail split between Dolly's house and mine. A crooked tree stood guard there, casting shadows even in daylight. I had always felt uneasy passing that place, though I never knew why. That's when the whistling changed. It stretched out, long and low, vibrating in my chest. It came so close it felt like it was right behind us. I froze, my lungs locked. Slowly, against my will, I turned, and I saw it. Between the trees stood a figure. A man, if you could call it that. His eyes were the worst, bulging, colorless, milky, like they didn't belong to a living thing. Eyes that looked dead, yet fixed on me alive. The wind blew again, carrying the stench so strong it made me dizzy. My legs refused to move. I was trapped. The whistling filled my ears, louder, closer. Dolly yanked my arm, but her voice sounded muffled, like I was underwater. And then, with sheer force, she dragged me forward. My body finally broke free, and we ran. Branches scratched our arms, stones cut our bare feet, but none of it mattered. The whistling chased us, relentless, almost playful. Night fell completely. The forest swallowed what little light was left. Our footsteps pounded against the trail, but the sound of the whistling never faded. Against my own will, I looked back. It was following us, no longer hiding. It walked with purpose, carrying something over its shoulders. A sack, huge and lumpy, swinging with each step. The smell grew stronger, unbearable, and I swear I saw shapes moving inside the sack. Limbs, broken, twitching. I couldn't scream. I just ran, faster, lungs burning. Dolly tripped and I pulled her. Then I fell, and she dragged me. We didn't stop. Fear gave us strength. And then, like the creak of wooden wheels against the dirt, a wagon appeared. It was Mr. Valencia, an older man who lived far from the village. He saw us, heard our cries, and understood. The horse snorted nervously, sensing the stench. Mr. Valencia didn't hesitate. He reached for us, pulled us onto the wagon, and turned it around fast. I looked back one last time. The figure stood at the edge of the road, still watching. It didn't chase us. It only whistled, and that whistle carved itself into me like an invisible scar. Act 4, The Legacy of Fear. Back home, we were shaking, sobbing, barely able to speak. My parents tried to calm us, but Mr. Valencia was the one who explained. His voice was grave. He said that years ago, when he was young, he had seen something similar. A creature that looked like a man, crouched over a drunk villager, its mouth pressed to the man's stomach as if feeding. When he told the others, no one believed him. The drunkard disappeared, never found again. That night, he made us promise never to walk alone after sunset. He said what we saw wasn't new. It had always been there, and it was patient. The promise spread. No child in our region ever walked the paths after dark again. My parents eventually moved us to the city, tired of my pleas. Years passed. I grew old, but I never forgot. Sometimes when the wind is strong, I smell it again, that unbearable stench of rot. Sometimes in the silence of the night, I hear a faint whistle, long and low. And when I do, the girl I once was returns, terrified, frozen on that path. I never saw the creature again, but the fear never left me. And even now, in my old age, I dread the thought that one day the whistle will return. Not to scare me, but to finish what it started.